Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Underhood Show presented by Mel Hambelton Ford. My name is Phil Nightingale and Kelly Hamilton. Hey, Kelly, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Good morning.
Good morning. Anyway, Josh is in Kansas City with some softball action. No, baseball action, not softball, with his son. So Kelly has to fill in with me. Of course, it's been a week or two since I've been on, too. So
Yeah.
So, hey, let's get the phones ringing. It's a call-in show, 316-462-3673. Anything ailing your car, tires, brakes, batteries, anything in the automobile world you want to talk about. Kelly and I'll answer your great questions and send you back a prize package that's valued over $130 for each and every caller. Can you rattle off that package by now?
I was just waiting on you to do it.
That's what she's waiting on me to do it, right? All right, Kelly, it's the Works package. What's the Works package? We always talk about that, but what is the Works package?
You know, that's the oil change, the tire rotation, and most importantly, the multi-point inspection.
Okay, then we're going to give you $10 in Mel's Diner. We're going to give you $10 of Ford Pass points to spend in our shop. We're going to give you some great BG products for your car, some 44K and some MOA. Is that everything? Nitrogen for tires. I wonder if he was going to catch that or not.
I got it.
Nitrogen for your tires, too. It's a package valued over $130. All you got to do is call in the show, 316-462-3673. Tell the girls at the front desk you want to get patched into the podcast, and we'll get you on the air with your question. And again, it's anything ailing your car, tires, brakes, batteries. You want to talk about that multi-point inspection? You want to talk about that nitrogen? You want to talk about a noise, lights, or anything that's going on in your car? We'd love to answer your questions and help you better understand your car and make it run for many, many more miles. So, Kelly, it's getting hot.
Very, very hot.
Very hot. And what's, in your opinion, what is something that affects these cars in the heat? We always have the things affect them in the cool when it gets cold. Now we have the hot temperatures. What is the things that's really harsh on these cars when it's this hot?
As far as what systems are affected the most?
Yeah.
Well,
your opinion. I have mine.
You know, with I'm gonna say the cooling system. I mean, that cooling system's taking on an extra load when it's this hot because now, you know, you're not only trying to cool the engine and all the components there, but you're also trying to remove heat from the cabin compartment.
Yep.
With that air conditioning condenser out there in front of the radiator. So it's having to remove heat from the radiator and the condenser at the same time. So things like your cooling system, your fan, your belt, hoses take on extra pressure, everything like that. In my opinion, it'd be the cooling system.
You know, I have to agree with you too. It's something we only think about our cooling systems when we're worried about years ago was freezing. We just stick you stick a little syringe down in there, see how many bubbles will float, and add some antifreeze to it to make it from freezing. But that's really not what it's about today. Today it's about removing that heat. Even though our oil cools our engine more than the coolant does, but like you said, we've got your air conditioning running hard. You got the condenser fans that are blowing hot air through that thing. It's hard on all the components there to make sure you keep it, ready to go, cooling like it needs to cool. And a lot of people like to just, and I seen it yesterday too. And I get it 100%. Last time sit there, I don't keep the cabin cool for you.
Yep.
I'm kind of guilty of that myself.
I'm sure you are.
Yesterday we were over at Hutch at the racetrack. We were running around town doing different errands and stuff like that. And Nick had shut that truck off. We'd go in there, stop. I said, Nick, leave that thing run. It's too miserable to get in this truck when it's this hot and everything else too. But,
well, and how hot it is, that's running in the store for 5 minutes. You come back out and it's a scorcher in the cab.
Yeah.
In just a couple of minutes.
It's hot, hot, hot. So
I don't know if you've ever made the mistake of, like laying your arm across the top of a condenser when one comes in.
Trust me, I've been burnt more times than you believe.
Man, the condensers, folks wouldn't understand. They get just as hot, if not hotter, than the radiator does.
Yeah. So as we're talking about our cooling systems, we always just used to worry about the freeze point, but that's really not what we're worried about today. Today, we're worried about our pH level, just like a pool or a hot tub or whatever, even your house water, to check that pH level to see what it's doing. And we have some great test strips we use now today to check that from BG. So we can see what that pH level is going. And as soon as you see that pH level getting one way or the other, man, it's time to get that stuff out of there because it's building corrosion inside your components. And as small as these components are getting today, and we talk about the oil components and all that kind of stuff too, but as soon as that corrosion starts building, it doesn't take long for it to take off.
Well, yeah, and back in your day when they were using stone and eventually moved to cast iron, um,
You are a funny
you
dude,
know,
Kelly.
now nowadays you have so many different materials and aluminum and brass and things like that that coolant's constantly coming into contact with.
Yeah.
And a lot of those metals and materials we use nowadays are not as resilient as the old cast iron, the high nickel blocks, things like that. And so it really does take a little bit more monitoring of your cooling system and the pH balance. Make sure that coolant isn't becoming like acidic, eating into those metals, cavitating.
Yeah. And I've seen so many heater cores get plugged up. I've seen so many water pumps, the fins that actually move the water have just eaten away
Oh, yeah.
From that part. And then as that corrosion starts building in the radiator, all that's doing is slowing down the amount of volume of water that can get through that radiator to cool everything down like it needs to cool down too. So if that pH level starts getting out of hand, Kelly, what do we do? What's the next step?
We get it out of there.
Okay.
Get it out of there. We do a BG service on that stuff. We flush all that old stuff out of there, get it all cleaned up, and it that BG is a 3-part kit that we do on those vehicles. You're going to put the cleaner in first. That's going to go in. That's going to neutralize all that acidic coolant that's still in there, and any junk and debris. It's going to grab a hold of that and suspend it in the fluid, and then we're going to flush that stuff out of there. We're going to put in some Super Cool, which is also a BG product. It helps your cooling system reach peak efficiency at removing heat from the engine and the passenger compartment. And then we put in a BG silica based sealer that is not your old bars leak that you got to worry about.
I used to use that a lot, let me tell you.
Heater cores and
that's back then. That's what our biggest leaks we had back in my day was the radiators would leak, and that's where the bars leak could come into play. Yep. Go in there and seal that up. And the other thing we used to use a lot of too is those pellets. So are you old enough to know that?
Yeah.
Okay. You sure about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Use those. We had those right on the shelf up there in Halstead.
Yeah. But today, those pellets and that bars leak is really not. That's really going to do a lot of damage to your car if you probably put that stuff in the systems we have today. It's just the way our radiators have evolved, the way our cooling system evolved, the heater cores have evolved, the passages that the coolant runs through there. You throw some bars leak in something today, you just probably clogged something up. Stopped it.
Smaller passages. Well, and because they can remove heat a lot more efficiently nowadays than they could back. I remember my 74 F250. It had a 4-core radiator. You pull the radiator cap off, and you could see all 4 cores of that radiator, and that dude was 3 or 4 inches thick. And now you go to a F450 Super Duty, and your radiator's an inch thick, has 2 cores in it, and removes the heat perfectly fine.
Yep.
But
it's just the efficiency they've done of it.
Mm-hmm.
That they've done to these radiators today stuff too. But but then the sealer you're talking about, let's talk about that, because I promise you there's always going to be a leak somewhere in a cooling system over its lifespan. It's going to happen. I don't care what brand of car you have, what make of car you have, what motor you have, you're going to have some kind of a leak that's going to develop. So the sealer we put in there is to prevent that.
The sealer that we put in there, it's not designed or engineered to do any sort of repair. It is like a maintenance sealer, and they use a silica based sealant that they've developed down there at BG, and it is guaranteed not to clog any of your systems up or anything like that. But some very minor, seeps out of a weep hole or something that might start seeping past an O-ring, it's gonna take care of those very minor things. Now, coolant leak is a totally different thing.
Yeah, it's not going to fix a leak. It's going to fix a seep.
Right.
And that's where a leak starts from that part. For all the hose connection we have and the way the motor's flexing there to move those connections around stuff, the heater core lines, the upper and lower radiator hoses. And now today we've got a lot of radiator hoses running around to cool different things off in that car.
And really what that sealer is designed to do, Phil, is get them to that next multi-point inspection, right?
Yep.
So a lot of folks have been out on the road and you lose a radiator hose or lose your coolant somehow. Water pump starts draining out the weep hole, something like that, and it leaves you high and dry and stuck. What that sealer is for, and the hope there is that we maintain that cooling system. You have that sealer in there. if it starts leaking between oil changes, that sealer is going to do its job, help you get to that next oil change. And when it comes in for that multi-point inspection, we're going to be able to see that little trail of coolant coming out and say, okay, we have an issue here. Let's address it while it's here.
Exactly. So, hey, 316-462-3673. That's the number to call in the front desk. Anything ailing your car, you want to talk about this cooling system or anything whatsoever, we're going to give you a great price package valued over $130 for each and every caller calling in. And we'd love to hear from you. Any questions you might have. 316-462-3673. So now the next question is going to be is how often should you flush your coolant?
You know, it is recommended. We recommend every 30,000 miles.
Yep.
30,000 miles, that coolant has taken a beating.
It sure has.
It has been through a lot of thermal cycles, and that mileage doesn't even account idle time. So if you're somebody running a diesel or maybe in the construction side of things where you're doing a lot of idle time and stuff like that, it might be a little less than 30,000 miles, and
yeah, that's where I was headed with that. I agree with you on the 30,000 mile service, but I think every oil change you need to be checking that pH level and watching that pH level as soon as it starts to turn. Years ago too, we used to look at color.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do that anymore either. You can't really tell by color anymore what that coolant is doing. But that pH level is really the true factor today, in my opinion. So it could be 30, it could be 20, it could be 50, just depending on how your system is and what you do. And again, like you said, idle time. Again, if you're running a diesel truck, you're on a construction site, so whatever, your odometer now is null and void, in my opinion, on what you service things for. You need to be working off the hour meter, and most all these trucks today have hour meters on them.
Yep.
And you need to be changing them by the hours, not by the miles on those trucks.
Yep.
So checking that every service and just seeing what that pH level is doing. As soon as I see that pH level is getting a little bit high or a little bit low, she's coming out. So, and I'm going to say too, that's going to determine on, if you ever did have a leak that you had to add coolant, or someone added water, not coolant, back to it, or if you have a seep or something that happened, that's going to change the whole lifespan of that antifreeze too. So, So we're talking about the antifreeze and the cooling system in the cars for today too. But the next thing I'm doing my hand on is the AC system itself. It used to be not everybody had AC. Now I don't think there's a car made today that doesn't have AC. But these systems have changed drastically. Of course, the Freon has changed drastically over the years on what that needs to be. But your AC system needs service just like an oil change on your engine. It's got oil inside of it that lubricates the compressors. It flows the coolant through there, the Freon through the system. And it's crazy. Back the R12 days, we'd have systems carrying 5 and 6 pounds of coolant, Freon. Got the refrigerant in there, and it was nothing. You could charge it a half pound over, a half pound under. They would still pull it pretty cold. Today, we got these systems running less than a pound of Freon in them.
Yeah. Well, and back in the day with R12, you could charge a system just off of pressure.
Yeah.
And you can't do that anymore. It has to be, starting with 134A, it has to be a specific weight of refrigerant in that system to get optimal performance out of it. You can't just charge off of pressure. And this new YF refrigerant is the same. It has to be very, very specific.
So you see these commercials on TV where you see these guys running the parts store and grabbing their can of Freon and squirting it in that system. I can't tell you, everybody, please don't do that. Please don't do that. That is so bad. That's like pouring acid down your stomach.
They call that a suicide kit.
Yeah.
And the reason for that being is eventually it is going to kill your AC system.
Yeah.
Compressor, everything like that. A lot of those cans are full of so much stop leak and things like that will go in and clog up those expansion valves or orifice tubes, get in your accumulator and just sit there.
Yep. But, it might cool for a little bit, but you're going to the detrimental damage you've done going forward. So today, where we have to, and you're right, Kelly, back when I started doing AC systems, we had our vacuum pump over there, had a set of gauges, and that's all you needed. Then you had 1 pound cans of Freon with a clamp around a deal. You started squirting Freon on it to watch your pressures and away you went.
I thought you guys had the little box that hung on the window with the ice in it.
Nice try. Nice try. But anyway, today, how this works, you got to have a very accurate machine that can measure this refrigerant to the tenth of the ounce to be able to be
Mhm.
exactly accurate as you need to be to put that system back in there. So our AC system starts off first is we're going to suck completely everything out and know how much freon was in that system so we can tell, do we have a leak or don't we? Might not have a leak.
Right.
And that's not really the whole idea behind the AC service. To me, the most important part of that AC service is what's going to happen next, is how we go back and recharge that system. And again, you got to have quality equipment to be able to measure that stuff to the right tenth of the ounce as we put that refrigerant back in there, because it's got to pick the oil up, which is crucial to me, of moving that through the system to lubricate the compressor. And that's the most, and that's an engine basically in there that needs that lubrication. And so we're going to put some good quality BG oil back into there with a little bit of dye, which I also promise you at some point in its life, that AC system is going to have a leak. Guarantee. And there's not one
Yep.
manufacturer out there that makes any car that's never going to have an AC system that never leaks. It's going to happen. And that freon coming out of there and that dye that's in there will help us find that leak. And I'm telling you, years ago we had those sniffers, and they'd work sometimes and sometimes they wouldn't. You try to fight that. The way the freon would squirt out one way or another, your sniffer wouldn't pick it up, and different stuff. So that oil is so crucial. So we're going to put that BG oil in, which BG's done some phenomenal testing with those oils to put a better oil in there to help lubricate that engine inside there, cooling that transmission. God, I got so many things going on in my head here. Cooling that compressor and lubricating that thing correctly.
Exactly. And, I just went over this with my advisors and technicians the other day. We were talking about the importance of doing an AC service and for maintenance, not just because a customer necessarily has a problem with their AC system, but actually a maintenance service for AC. It's recommended. It's recommended BG on their oil, doing it once a year, getting that old oil out of there, getting new oil in. I mean, those AC systems get pounded, high pressure, high intense heat,
Yep.
everything like that. And anybody that knows anything about oil, you know, they have thermatic breakdown,
Hmm.
and there is nowhere that's hotter or under more pressure in any system on that vehicle than the air conditioning system. And I'm telling you, you can look at our AC machine, and on the back of that machine, it has one clear container for the used fluid and one clear container for the new
They look the same, don't
oil.
they?
I was
Not.
showing that to everybody the other day, and that new oil going in is that bright fluorescent yellow oil with the dye already in it, and the stuff coming out is dark brown with little, it's got
Hmm.
little chunks of stuff floating in there at the bottom of the bottle.
Yeah.
It is nasty, nasty stuff.
Yeah. So just think, today an average compressor replacement's around, I'm going to say $1,000. But then if you let one basically disintegrate and send all that metal through the whole system,
Hmm.
man, you're up to 2 grand, because now we've got to flush all those lines, everything out of there. And who knows if that compressor goes bad enough, if it throws enough chunks in it, plugs up the evaporator.
Hmm.
Okay. Plugs up the condenser. So then you're into more hefty parts there too. So it's again, the AC service to me is another one like the old Fram commercial years ago, pay me now or pay me later,
Yeah.
kind of a deal. But I think the AC service needs to be serviced once a year. Just like you say it, Kelly, to get that old oil out, put some fresh oil in there to keep lubricating it. I'm kind of waiting for the day. You think there's ever be a day they have a oil filter on the AC system?
Man, the it's funny you say that, but for years they've been, uh, on the liquid line, it'll have a built-in filter in it.
Yep.
For years they've been doing that, and it helps. It helps prolong the inevitable without maintenance,
Right.
right? But you're still going to go down that path of something screwing up on that AC system if it's not properly maintained over the years.
Yep. So there's two things: the cooling system or AC system. If you have any more questions about that, love to hear from you. 316-462-3673. And any questions you might have about that or anything alien in your car, love to hear from you. That number comes right to the front desk, and we'll take your call and give you a great price package valued at over $130. Basically, get your car tuned up, ready to go for the next 5,000 miles of driving. Ryan Smith, how you doing, buddy? Mel Hambelton is keeping things cool. Well, we're trying to. Kind of hard today with as hot as it is, Ryan, but good to hear from you, buddy. Anyway, so there's two things that was on my mind about, but you know, we next thing I'm going after is tires.
Yeah.
This heat of these tires, your tires on your car today have a tread wear rating, they have a temperature rating, and that temperature rating is rated as an A, B, or C. And it's designed how hot that tire can run. As you're running down these highways that are probably running, the highway itself, when that sun's beating down there, has to be 120 to 150 degrees on these hot days.
Yeah, at
And now you're
least.
putting your tire down that highway, and that contact patch is heating, getting hot. And let that tire down just 5 pounds of pressure. And I promise you, in this hot temperatures we have today, that temperature of that tire is now grown 20,
You're
30, 40 degrees higher.
you're talking about having a blowout.
There you go, because it can't handle the heat,
Yeah.
and the sidewalls give out, and that sort of thing. So proper air pressure in those tires is just as crucial in winter as it is summer, of making sure that is. And I get, hopefully every car you're driving today has a tire pressure monitoring system, so you can monitor your tires and see where it's at, and monitor that. Don't let those tires get to that light comes on, because if that light comes on, it's too late.
Yep.
Too late. And that's where we talk about nitrogen so much. We sell a lot of nitrogen for tires. That nitrogen just helps keep that tire at the proper pressure and lets it not seep as fast as it does. It's still going to seep. It's still going to lose some air. But that proper tire pressure as you're running down the highway, to me, is crucial. Because the other thing is, you put extra heat in that tire, even if it doesn't blow out, you're taking a lot of tread wear, life, and everything out of that tire.
Yep.
From
Yep.
that part.
You are, and for every 9 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 1 pound of pressure, whether
Okay.
it's up or down. So if you're setting your tire pressure on a cold tire like you should, and then you get out on the highway on some of these summer days when it's hot, and get out on the blacktop, and that tire can gain 7, 8, 9, 10 pounds of pressure just from normal rolling down the road.
Right.
And that's why it's really important to have your tires set where the manufacturer tells you to set them, because they've engineered them around that, right?
Right.
So when you got I've had folks over the years that the placard says 35. Well, I really like them at 40 psi. Well, that's fine, but this is why it's said to run 35. Those things are going to expand, they're going to contract, everything like that, and that's what they're engineered to do. And that's going to get you the best
Performance.
wear, the best life out of your tires, the best fuel economy, is having them right there.
So where you find that is open up your driver's door, and every car has it, a little placard there that's got the size of the tire, it's got the speed rating of the tire, and it's got the air pressure of what you need to run in the cars. And I tell you, there's times I question that tire, but you're right. The engineers have designed that car and that tire to run around that. Now, can those tires hold more pressure? Yeah, they can, because the manufacturer of the tire has designed that thing to hold more pressure, but the car itself doesn't need that. Now, one way around that would be, in my opinion, is if you say you got an F-150 and it says it's supposed to have 35 pounds of pressure, and your tires say it can go to 44. Now I'm going to hook on a big old trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put a bunch of weight in my bed and that sort of thing. Then I probably am going to air them tires up to 44.
I'm going to put those tires up to the max pressure of the tire manufacturer
So
to have maximum load.
So that way it can hold the load,
Mm-hmm.
hold that extra tonnage just sitting on top of those tires from that part. And but then again, as soon as I take that load back out, you need to lower that air pressure back down to that 35 pounds, whatever that door placard says. So look at that door placard on the inside. Open up your driver's door. It's right there. And speaking of tires, is hopefully when you replace your tires, you've got the right tire on there. It used to be we could just put the size, and that's all we had to worry about. Now today we've got to worry about a speed rating. We got to worry about a load rating.
Speed and load rating
are crucial to these days on what you're doing with these tires. So it's what I love about coming to us for tires is we have 17 different models of tires we can sell you. We have lots of options for you. Roll into a tire store, you're going to get 2, 3 maybe options of that. Kelly, I've talked about this on many shows. I see cars and trucks pulling in. I'm thinking, what in the world is that tire doing on that car? Well, that's because where they bought that tire, that's the size. It's all they had to offer that customer. So that's what they put on the car. Can't tell you how much that's wrong. It could cause so much more harm than good.
And I'll add on to that, and not to toot our own horn here, but we've been number one in tire sales, any Ford dealership in the nation.
Yeah,
for
many years.
For many years now. And with that comes our ability to have that feedback from our customers over the years. So there's certain scenarios where there's a there's a tire that just doesn't work on a vehicle. Well,
right.
we've seen it. We've been there. We've seen that. We've done it. We know these tires are going to work for you, and they're going to work very well. When they first came out with the C-rated tires,
Yeah.
load rating on the Transits, for that commercial, that smaller commercial tire. There's a couple of brands. There's a couple of tires there that you put them on there, and that vehicle's coming right back because it's wandering all over the road, driving all funky and everything. We can change those tires, and we learned, through some customer feedback in that situation. Okay, these 3 or 4 are golden. These 2 are our customers are getting the most mileage out of these 2,
Right.
options here, everything like that. So having that, being able to move that many tires and help as many customers as we do, it gives us a unique perspective in being able to get that feedback back from our customers on what works, what doesn't, what lasts, what doesn't, and we can kind of help steer and guide our customers in the right direction.
Very true. And it's, I think I've said this on many shows too, just an example if you weren't listening before, but uh, I had a gentleman, he was a construction guy. And instead of driving a 3/4 ton truck out, just do estimates, things like that, he bought a economical car to drive. What ended up being it was a hybrid, and he's a Michelin fan. He said, "Phil, I just want a set of Michelin tires on this car." So put the Michelin's on it. Took his car from getting 40 miles to the gallon to 20, just changing the tires. Brought it back in. We looked it over, and that's sure enough. I mean, the Michelin just didn't have the right speed rating and load rating to match that car, but he wanted Michelin, so that's what we put on it. Went back and put the tire with the right speed rating, right load rating on it. Took him right back to 40 miles to a gallon.
Yep.
So there's a prime example of that, what you got there. And you need to trust us experts. And when you need to get a tire to give you the best options and everything else to help your tires from that part getting fixed from that standpoint. Don't just don't put the size on there that might match or whatever from that part too, to make sure that tire is going to perform right. But most importantly to me, it's performing right. I'm saying performance. My crucial thing is braking. So it can brake right and all that kind of stuff. And then if you need to swerve or move or whatever, that tire can handle what you're doing from that part, and maybe not roll over.
It's funny.
Did you hear what I said there, Kelly? Roll over.
Yeah, I did. Sure.
A little inside joke to everybody.
I'm
someone's stuttering around here about this rollover thing.
Moving on. It's pretty funny.
Do we have the right tires on that Super Duty that day?
They were the correct tires.
Really?
They were. They were actually a really good tire. There was oil in the road. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
That's what's on the report.
That's what's on the report.
Moving along. So you think Bubba Wallace is going to win that this weekend?
No. 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 I don't think he is. No. So where are they racing at this weekend?
Pocono?
Triangle race. Shifting 3 times.
Where's that track at?
Pocono, Pennsylvania. Yeah, big track. I think it's the biggest track, 2.6 miles too, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I asked Mike down there, and he said, no, that way. Where the track is.
That way. Hey, 316-462-3673 in the Angler Car Tires, Brakes, Batteries. You want to talk about NASCAR? We don't care. We'll talk about that too. We can handle anything in racing world you want to talk about on that standpoint also. So 316-462-3673. Anyway, had a good night at Salt City last night. Had some good class with the IMCA classes. And tonight, you're looking for some action to go. 81 Speedway's running. I can't tell you all their classes are running. Talked to JR yesterday. Had a great conversation with JR. He's excited for his night tonight for out there too. So want some racing to go to 81 Speedway. Also, Enid, Oklahoma's running some cars down there too. And also Beaver, Oklahoma's got some racing there down there too. So several places to go check out some racing from that part too. So anyway, Kelly, what else on your mind? You got anything else we can talk about? Happened to Quick Lane this week or anything?
Man, Quick Lane this week has been, we have been a little bit backed up this week, a little bit busy. Had the government holiday there in the middle of the week, so had a lot of businesses were closed and things like
Yep.
that. Anytime other businesses are closed, we get we get very busy very quick.
Well, and here's what I'll tell you, and I say this to a lot of people when they come up here and talk to me about different things about the quick lane and stuff like that. Is use the analogy of a restaurant, and this happens to me a lot. If I pull up there and there's nobody there, I hate to say I'm not going in. But if that place is busy and there's a standing room wait, there's a reason there's a standing room wait after that part. And that's one thing we pride ourselves there in that quick lane is making sure we're getting the quality job done and stuff too. And it's just like the other day I got you guys involved with the customers a little upset that I know and grew up with, and we just got a little busy, got behind a little bit. But one of our service advisors had an emergency, had to leave, and we just didn't get everything followed up with this guy like we needed to. So we make mistakes. It's gonna happen. Everything else like that too. But we sure try not to make that happen. When it does, we try to do what we can to overcome it and make it happen better. But when you're this busy and stuff, things are gonna every now and then drop through the cracks and everything else too. But I promise you, if you come to our quick lane or our main store, you're going to get we got, like Kelly said, we have the largest quick lane in the country. We sell more tires than any Ford dealer in the country. And we've got a vast amount of technicians that can see so many things differently than a lot of people. We can put more heads together to diagnose cars when they're pain. And we can also have, so much more depth of working on cars, but also the next thing is the parts availability. And once a month, I meet with the parts guys and talk about what's coming in inventory, what's coming out of inventory. And the first thing I talk about is Ford has what they call RIM, and that's their reorder inventory management system that they bring parts in what they think need to come in, and we can accept or decline them. And my first thing I ask Paul is on that RIM list when Ford recommends it, are we stocking 100% of what they're saying we need to stock? Because basically they're taking all the data from around the country in our area, knowing what's breaking or what they need to have or whatever, and saying, hey, you need to stock this to be ready to go for your customers. So that's why I say, Paul, are we stocking 100% of RIM? And he says yes every time. So because that's my instruction too. When I was running the parts at Hutch, we had the same kind of thing with General Motors and this kind of thing. And I did the same thing. Everything they said that we needed to have. And some things I'd question. And lo and behold, in about 3 or 4 months, guess what? I would sell it. So that's the next thing is when we have this volume of deal is parts, to be able to have parts availability to help you and stuff too, to get you back on the road as fast as we can. And we're constantly watching that inventory, making sure we have the right stuff to these technicians to stock it to keep them on the road.
Well, and that's something that I bring up. We do a lot of I do a lot of tours with different classes and
seen you yesterday the other day about that too.
Yeah, had WSU Tech over here from the Goddard campus, in David Burford's program out there, which is a great program for those kids. But had them out here kind of walk them through, and that's one thing that we always hit on during those tours. We talk about that quite a bit. Is parts availability and having those parts here on the shelf, to keep that technician in their bay, being able to work on cars, turn hours, everything like that. But on the customer side of things, it's getting that customer in and out of our facility and back down the road, back on with their lives in a vehicle they can rely on.
Yep.
And everything like that quickly.
Well, let's go to those techs. Think about working in a shop like this. It's got the amount of parts, but also we got the volume to be able to have work, to be able to keep making money. But then again, tools. I mean, it's a monthly basis. I think that Josh and I are talking about what new tools we need to have, what we need to buy, what we need to stay up on top of. And I'm gonna tell you, when he comes at me with what we need, it's always get it. I don't even question it because I want these techs to have the right tools. I mean, I worked in several shops that didn't have the right tools. It had old, outdated stuff that should take you twice as long to do a job or not do it effectively and everything else too. So that's one thing I don't want these techs to happen. It's like lifts. He comes to me with certain situations of repairing a lift or replacing it. And I very, 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 very rarely will I fix a lift.
Right.
I don't want to take any chances of anybody getting hurt or whatever from that part. And of course, we look at the age of the lifts and that kind of thing, and it's crazy how old some of those lifts have already gotten because of. I mean, the quick lane. I mean, we started building a thing in 13.
Sometimes I don't like to think about how long ago that's been.
Not true. I know, but from that part, so a lot of advantages for us from that part too. So anyway, employee pricing is about to end, everybody. So if you're looking for a new Ford, we got a lot of inventory still out here and stuff. We've been selling quite a bit. Had a great day yesterday, but it's going to end. Can't remember the exact date here. I'll look at my calendar here and I'll tell you it's going to end July the 5th. Or maybe the 7th. It might be the 7th, but it's coming down quick.
That's coming up in just a couple weeks.
Yeah, coming up quick. It's been a great incentive. And just so you can understand how this works, you have MSRP, and then you have invoice, and then you have a price called D plan, which is what Kelly and I normally could buy cars for. Then you go deeper yet, and that's called A plan, and that's what the Ford manufacturer employees can buy their cars at. That's what you can buy a car for today, right now. So it's all on the website. It shows the pricing, shows it right there, break it out for you. No negotiation anymore. It's easy to say. All we need to figure out is what your trade's worth. So check out our inventory at mhford.com. We just got a brand new website too. I think it's so much more user friendly and easier for you to find things and stuff like that too. So check out that employee pricing. You don't want to miss it. Just a couple more weeks here coming up for that's going to be over from that part. So anyway, Kelly, I think we've covered about everything we need to get everybody up to date and keeping them cool out there, keeping the cars running cool. Just remember, I'm going to tell you real quick, oil maintenance is crucial. Every 5,000 miles, come see us. Don't look at that maintenance light. That maintenance light will take you way too long. And you got to remember the manufacturer designed that maintenance light. They worry about your car to get it out of the warranty period, and that's it. After that, it's on you. And number two, that maintenance light and those manuals, that's the minimum that you need to do to your car. That's not the maximum or the only thing you need to do to your car. That's the minimum requirements that manufacturer is putting out there for you to keep it through the warranty period. And after the warranty period, guess what? It's your baby. So if you want to make sure these cars, as much as they cost today, maintain them correctly, come see us every 5,000 miles and let's get that oil out of there and do that multi-point inspection. Kelly, the other day, I remember when we first started the multi-point inspection, customer, I don't want that. I don't want that. Well, you're just going to sell me something. Today, it's the crucial thing today. Of watching these cars and seeing what's happening.
I've had that conversation with a lot of folks over the years, and it's always the same thing. At the end of the day, would I like you to get your car repaired here with us and do the work with us? Of course, I would. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really. I've got enough folks that we have enough customers and enough folks that do business with us and get their cars repaired. Whether you're going to get it repaired here or somewhere else, or you're going to do it yourself at home on some of those other repairs, you're going to leave here with a piece of paper showing you what your vehicle needs.
Yep.
You're going to know about it. And that's what we're about. We want you to know the condition of your vehicle when you leave our facility. These are a few things that need to be taken care of right now in short order. They don't have much life left, and here's some maintenance items that you need to look at doing, and here's some things coming up in the future. Whatever.
Your choice. You do what you want to do. It's our job to advise you. It's kind of like you go to the doctor for your physicals or go whatever. If they just kind of check your blood pressure and throw you out the door, guess what? You want to know what's going on. You want to know what's happening. It's the same kind of thing we're trying to do to take care of your car.
Well, and more with the vehicles that are coming in the door, more and more often, those customers are going to check out at the desk with their service advisor, and their service advisor is saying, here's your multi-point inspection. Here's what your brakes are at. Here's where your tires at. Everything looks really good.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Could be. That's going to be most of the time too.
Yeah.
But you need to. My thing about that multi-point inspection, Kelly, tires are $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 for a set of tires. Trying to come up with that money, all of a sudden you can start watching those tread wear come down, and you can plan for that.
Exactly.
Same thing on brakes. You can watch the brake wear pads start wearing down, and you can be prepared and ready to replace those brake pads as you need to have them done, and not be a shock or be a surprise. Or you're driving down the road and you blow a tire because it's flat, or you're going down the road and all of a sudden you start grinding because you're metal to metal on your brakes. There's so many advantages of that multi-point inspection, and I think everybody in the world is realizing that too. I was in Hutch yesterday, and I was on the radio at one of the Hutch stations, and there was a shop there advertising. The first thing I advertised, the multi-point inspection. So I think everybody's realizing that's what has to happen today to keep track of that and everything else too. But like Kelly said, we'll advise you. It's your choice. If you don't want to do it, no hard feelings, but just know that we advise you what you need to do to protect your car and make it go the many, many miles it's supposed to.
Yep. Exactly.
All right, everybody. Everybody have a great Saturday. Stay cool, stay hydrated, drink lots of fluids so you don't get dehydrated because it can take it very quickly from that part. Got
Greg Murray brings up a good point there. Talking about tire performance degrading by age, not just tread depth.
It's very true too. It's very true. Every tire has a date code on it, and they're good for 5 years.
Well, it's rubber.
Yeah.
Anything rubber that sits outside or out in the UV rays, UV sunlight is a destroyer of rubber. That's why you always see for anybody in the camping world, you see anybody that does any extended camping anywhere on their fifth wheels and their motorhomes, they always have those tire covers.
Yeah.
That's to block the sunlight from the tires. How many people are pulling up at Walmart and getting out of their car and putting tire covers on their car?
Zero.
Or doing it in your driveway, right? So yeah, they have an age rating for a reason, and as that tire gets older, that rubber is going to become a lot more stiff, a lot less malleable. That's where you start to develop those weather cracks in the rubber and everything like that. And you run a risk of throwing the tread all the way off of a tire. We've all seen that. One comes in and it's steel belts around the whole tire because it threw all the tread off.
Along the highway with their trailers and got a blown tire.
Oh yeah.
Another example of that too.
Yeah, it's a good point, Greg.
Yes, good point, Greg. We just trying to kind of close out the session. So everybody, thanks for the comments. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody stay cool. Kind of hard to do today. And probably the next few days from that part. But it is summertime. We're supposed to be sweating.
Yep.
And I'd much rather sweat than freeze.
Yeah.
Are you good with that too?
I'm kind of the other way around. I'm one of those. I could always put more layers on.
No, you can't.
There's some places you can't take enough off.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Anyway, everybody have a great Saturday. We'll talk to you next Saturday at 9:00, and also tune in next Wednesday. It's at 5:30 for the update on Salt City Racing in Hutchinson. So everybody have a great Saturday, and we'll talk to you soon.